Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So this is part 2 of fuel versus VVT. And in the last one, we set the groundwork for how we set up the VE table. We did it versus intake cam position. We used the long-term fuel trim to help populate this table. And we discussed how to set up the cam control intake target table in the Haltech to test all of these different positions to help with cruise. As you can see, we didn't even get over here. All these numbers are just arbitrarily 100, which actually is easy when you do start to do wide open stuff, because you'll see the exact percentage. Your short-term fuel trim says -5, that 100 should be a 95. Makes easy math. Anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about. So before, in these 3 cells, we were seeing some pretty aggressive swings. Now, this isn't perfect, but it is something that I was able to do to help fix this. If we focus in on the -12-inch 2500, we're 59.6. 5 degrees, we're 61.2% VE. We see that it's staying pretty constant, 60.4. Yeah, starting to drop again at 15 degrees of a cam advance. We're down to 56.5, but I mean, we're within 3%. It's a pretty good window, really. Helps the response time of the ECU and its feedback from the wideband stay a little more consistent, help that drivability. We go to 20. Oh, wow, look, it popped up. It's actually liking the 20. And by the time we get to 25, it's all starting to go back downhill again. We can see it's dropped to 54. Everything around it, though, is starting to get low. Maybe you've noticed that. And again, you're not going to necessarily cruise at these cam positions, and now it's definitely a lot lower. Now it's 50. In this particular case, 2500, 12.2, 63 might be our magic number. We can see, though, right next to that might not be where we want to go. So you have to sometimes also make that judgment call. If you're splitting in between columns, this might be good. But if this is really pretty horrible, yeah, maybe that's not how you want to set your VVT table up. Now you're going to have to drive it. This isn't something you can necessarily check on the dyno. I will have a video on how to check it on the dyno, but the easy math on that one requires drive-by-wire, which this particular car doesn't have. Something that in a lot of standalones you can add, however. But you end up with difficult areas to test sometimes, unless you have drive-by-wire. At any rate, what was the solution? What did we do here to help keep these numbers a little more linear? And while it can be argued that maybe that linearity doesn't matter on this particular car, you could definitely feel that it was snotty before. It just didn't feel clean at low RPM, regardless of, it was on the trims and it was trying to adjust. It just didn't really feel quite right. Now, when we go to the cam control table, this one has changed a little bit since the last one that you saw. It's kind of exaggerated. But in that cruise area, we're still 10 degrees. Like I said, we maybe could have gone less here. We could have gone back towards 0 possibly. We could have been 25 here. We can play with those numbers. In my opinion, this ended up driving the best on the dyno, so it's kind of where I left it. But we're going to talk about what's also happening here. Now, in our injection in a previous video, we talked about the injector phasing, the firing angle before top dead center. That's relative to how you set the fuel model up, if you're setting it up versus start of injection or end of injection. But what I was able to reason on is that if the intake cam is moving 10 degrees more advanced, well, maybe this firing angle should be changing 10 degrees. Now, in this particular example, what I noticed is that it seemed it was a little bit more than that. And I could have really spent some time and fine-tuned this. But if we look at that 2500 spot, 0 degrees of cam advance is 335.9 degrees before top dead center for our start of injection. 5 degrees is 342. 10 is 349. So on and so forth. 15 is 355.9, 362.6 for 20. And that was my particular trick here to help keep these numbers, or to use these numbers rather, to keep our base fueling numbers a little bit closer in this cruise area. Now, like I said, you might not notice it. I personally did. I felt the customer might. So I really wanted to fix these numbers, especially, where we're getting in high vacuum, maybe in a parking lot. You're really going to notice that feel because the car's going to feel jerky and missy and stuttery. And you just really don't want that when you're trying to drive calmly, let's say, in the school zone or whatever you're doing that's low speed cruising. And theoretically, off idle, high idle. You're going to want the car to behave. Pardon me. You're going to want the car to behave. So sometimes we have to make some judgment calls on what's most important to us, which is the reason that we came up with some of the compromises in the VVT table for this particular application. The car is a 6266, I believe, 6466. Again, 1JZ VVT. If you didn't happen to recall that in the Conquest TSI that I had on Instagram in the reels. Really, really nice, well put together car. And you can see we kind of got some more here to get the cam snapping or the turbo snapping, get some advance in there, build some cylinder pressure. Really fun car. It ended up making 650 before we ran out of fuel. But that's a solution I came up with. Possibly you're going to have another one, but changing your firing angle versus your cam position, I feel is a pretty necessary one, because if your cam position has changed, well, your start of injection should change. Otherwise, you're going to be spraying at a completely different moment and affecting how the fuel is going into the cylinder. Anyway, that's my feelings on that subject. Possibly other tuners are going to have some feedback. I wouldn't be surprised if we see other videos pop up from other tuners that may watch my channel. Maybe they have a better solution. So if you see this subject pop up, I'm not trying to say that I'm correct and that this is the only way. This just happened to be my solution using this software and hardware. Anyway, guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're getting ready for race season, whatever you might be doing. If it's cars, trains, planes, automobiles, whatever you're going to do, boats, have fun with it. Enjoy it. Get out in the sun, get some fresh air, burn some fuel, smile. That's what we want. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon. If that content is something that you like, please consider giving me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. Definitely leave comments for positive, negative. Let me know where I can improve, what you guys want to see in the future. It just helps the channel and it helps get you the content that you want. If possibly you have a friend or a community group that can benefit from content like this, please consider sharing it with them. Facebook, Instagram, wherever you want to go. Lastly, if you want notified as new content is added, simply click on the bell icon and YouTube will do that for you. Thanks again, guys. Take care.